Mike, you have a question.
It's Mike the TV, ladies and gentlemen. Mike.
Mike the TV, coming to you live from the heart of downtown Mainframe. I have two small questions for you. First, why doesn't anyone like me?
I
like you. Second, what was your inspiration for Mike the TV? He's also one of my favorite characters, but...
Inspiration.
Yes.
No, I heard the question, I just can't remember the answer. Mike was, in the very, 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 very early days, we're talking like mid-80s here when we were first coming up with the idea for the show, he was Bob's television. So it's Bob in his apartment, one of the very early tests we did for the show, it was Bob in his apartment with his TV, Mike. And Mike was like one of those LA morning TV radio guys who just never shuts up, and he does all the morning zoo kind of thing. And like Mike Donovan, who does Mike the TV. And he never shuts up because, that was it, Bob couldn't switch him off because his remote ran away. That was it. Because Mike was so annoying, the remote ran away, Bob couldn't turn him off, so it was always like, that sort of like Mike shtick, where Mike just blah, 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 and he throws him in the garbage disposal, sort of thing. So that's where he came from, and he just sort of stuck around. So, inspiration, I don't know. To annoy Bob was his inspiration. Mike was put in the test to annoy Bob, and be funny, and do lots of voices, and show how wacky. You know, he represented the wacky. Bob represented the heroic, the flawed hero kind of thing. Mike represented the wacky crazy. So if you're doing a test for a network, you've got to put an awful lot into a very short clip. So Mike did that.
The funny thing, just on a side note on that, the guy who played Mike the TV was named Mike, and he was a morning talk show radio host in Los Angeles. And he never shut up. No, actually he was great. Mike the character was played by Mike Donovan. And he was a morning talk show host in Los Angeles and did talk radio. And he had the pattern just down pat. And he was also, for a while, wasn't he the director as well? Yeah. And Mike Donovan was also directed a lot of the episodes. So it was kind of a fun, from season 2 on, that's right.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Next question.
Over here. Hi. First I want to say thank you so much for creating such an awesome show. Co-created and worked on. It was one of the few shows that my whole family got to watch together because I would like the slapstick humor and my dad would get all the computer references then explain them to me. But my question is, in the world of computers, things age very quickly. You get a new computer, it becomes old in a matter of weeks. And for a show that took place inside a computer, I just got the DVDs pretty recently, it's aged surprisingly well, like very well. And I'm wondering, why do you think the show has aged as well as it has?
I'll throw something. Well, I think the one reason why it's aged so well is it has many different genres within the show. You know, like the clowns, the video games, the pirating, the viruses. They are all still quite relevant, and the structures of the way the inside of a computer works. It's basically the same. It's just faster and smaller. But I think it's not so much the technology, but it was the stories and the characters within that framework that made it last so long. Because basically what the story is about people and their problems, people and their issues, people and the things they love and hate. And that is timeless, to my mind. Anyway, what do you think?
think it was just damn fine writing.
Yes.
I agree. No. I think another thing about it is it works, as somebody said earlier, I can't remember, it works on many levels. We put stuff, and that was intentional. We tried to put stuff in the show for little kids to enjoy. You know, like if you're 5, you look at it and go, oh, colourful, cute, funny, zany. And then when you get a little older, it's like, oh, I'm starting to get some of these gags. And then you watch it when you're 27, and it's like, oh my God, that was a double entendre. They're being really rude. Oh my God, and I never got that when I was So I think you can keep coming back. I get this a lot. People come up to the booth and they say, I watched it when I was 5, and then I watched it when I was 12, and then I watched it when I was 30, and it's still good, So I think it's not just a 2D show. It works on many levels, and we put something in there for everybody. And I think that means, you can watch it and rewatch it, and you can bring it to new people. You can show it to new people, and they go, oh my God, this is a really cool show.
So this is more of a question for Gary. I know you're a bit of Gavin. I know you're a bit of a Canucks fan, and Canucks all the way.
Absolutely.
But I want to know what you think of Schneider being the starter goalie and Luongo possibly.
Careful, Gavin.
I feel really bad for Luongo because I love the guy, and I think he's an awesome goaltender. And I think the decision to put him in, and Corey too is a great guy and an awesome goaltender. It's like, I think when you're winning and you have 2 number 1 goalies, it's great. When you lose a few games and you've got 2 number 1s, it becomes a huge theatre in the media. And I think as a coach, you play the hot goaltender. You're in the playoffs, you play the hot guy. So, and the team, for whatever reason, seem to play better in front of Schneider than they do in front of Luongo at the moment. And I don't know why, I can't explain that. But, you play the hot goalie. And I feel really bad for Bobby Luke because he's awesome. So, there you go.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
Go Canucks, go.
You guys, what were some of your challenges starting out with the show? Like your biggest challenge?
Well, I think we heard Sharon's first job. Shirley, you want to?
With the show, well, for me, was getting it because I didn't know computers. That was my first lesson in computers. A mouse is a girl, isn't it? Anyway, no. The character, for me, at Hexadecimal, once I put it all together of what all we were, I didn't want her to be... She could have gone a really ugly way, which I think it did for some people. But one of the biggest challenges was keeping a giggle, a sense of humor through all that happened. And I think the entire cast did that, actually. You can comment, Garry, if you... I don't know whether you... Well, you had a sense of humor all the way anyway.
What do you mean?
You know exactly what I mean.
No, I don't know anything. I just go do the show and say the lines, and they like it. No, it's. I think finding the character was the biggest challenge, and the chemistry between Hack and Slash, because they had to be sort of alike but different, and their mindset had to be the same. So we had to work out some kind of a dialogue, an improv dialogue, to make the dialogue work. And then we sort of got this thing about, no, just improvise the dialogue, just make it up. And then we'll do the regular script, and we'll do the improvised script, and then we'll just sort of pick and choose what we want. So we'd get away with horrible things like that were sort of risque back then, but pretty tame now, with things like Family Guy and American Dad. Which said, "You are touching me in a place that makes me uncomfortable. It's dark. I don't like to be held. No, I'm not touching you. You are touching me. I don't like it when you touch me." Those things that they left them in the script. But I was going, ooh, we may not get away with this. But that was, I think, I can't speak for all the other characters, but that was one of the biggest challenges for us, was finding the balance between humor and...
Yeah, we always went for a palette of voices. On every show we did, actually, we always tried to we didn't want all the voices to be the same. We wanted a palette of voices, tone and delivery, and, so... Yeah, that was finding the right balance for that was always important on every show that we did at Mainframe. No, I know she does, but I know you meant technically. I know you meant technically for like getting the show off the ground, but I don't want to just sit here and be the only guy talking when I've got these people here. So I deliberately skewed it towards creative.
It's still interesting.
It's
still
absolutely.
Hear it, so.
Absolutely. Technically, I mean, we were we were our own worst enemy because we always pushed the envelope. You know, here's software that can do this. Okay, push it, can it do this now? You know, okay, we're delivering stuff like this, now let's deliver stuff like this. So we were always our own worst enemy, and particularly in the early days, getting the shows out the door. You know, it was 24/7 sleeping under the desk kind of thing.
That's what I was going to say, was that if not like necessarily sleeping under the desk, but when I joined, there was no 9 to 5 and let's take an hour lunch break, and they lived and ate and breathed and slept this, you know. It was, I mean, I've given birth to 2 children, and I might argue it was harder for them.
Thank you.
First off, I'd just like to say the hexadecimal 3D ride at Palladium was amazing. But my actual question is, when you decided somehow to go, like, amazing choice to go to the darker tone when Enzo and Andrea were growing up, but what actually inspired that decision to go from like a children's show to Mad Max, basically?
I don't know if that was the actual decision we made. I don't know, we like telling, the first few seasons were very Saturday morning cartoon for ABC, so we were it was all standalone episodes, no big arcs, but as a storyteller, you always want to tell that bigger story, where episodes link together to tell, you know. So season 3, when we got the chance to do season 3, because there was a bit of a break between 2 and 3, and when we got the chance to do season 3, we had like lead time to plan. Technically, we'd got our act sorted out. So now it was about the storytelling. So we had time to plan. You know, we're going to do, each episode will stand alone, but 4 will link together to form a little arc, and then all 16 will link together to form a big story. Plus, we'd left ourselves up the creek when we fired Bob into the web at the end of season 2. So it's like, well, it's all about Bob. Bob's the hero, but Bob's not there. So it's all about bringing Bob back into it and stuff. And as a writer, as a creator, you just want to tell bigger stories. And bigger stories usually get a little bit darker and a little bit more grown up. And I guess we were growing up with the show, and our audience was growing up with the show.
Okay.